Hi, it's Alister Chapman on KITPLUS TV here, and I'm really privileged to have with me, I think today, Les Zellan of Cooke Optics. Now, I've been shooting with some of their lenses, and in particular their full-frame prime lenses recently, and they are just gorgeous, gorgeous lenses to work with. So, Les, what's new? What can you tell me about your latest additions to the lineup?
Well, I'm really happy you like our full frame lenses, as a lot of people around the world do. It's been very gratifying. On our full frame anamorphics, we are continuing to expand that range. We recently added an 85 millimeter macro, which if you're familiar with our Super 35 anamorphics, there's a 65 macro in that series, and this is roughly the same angle of view, and it's a 4-to-1 macro, and I think it's going to be as soon as we can start getting more out the door, it is going to be very popular.
Yeah, there's not many options in anamorphic and macro, so that's going to be a really exciting lens.
Yeah, well, but a lot of times in anamorphic, if you need a macro, you can really go. For instance, our Panchro Classic 65 millimeter macro will cover full frame. So even though it's not an anamorphic lens, if you're doing a really tight shot on something, it probably doesn't really matter that it's the spherical lens, and as long as the color and everything else is right, it probably would intercut well. But just in case, there's now an 85 millimeter macro for the S7A. Well, excuse me, for the full frame anamorphics. We also are starting to deliver a 180 for the full frame anamorphics, and if you look at what we did with the regular anamorphics, you might hypothesize that there's a 300 millimeter not too far away. And all these lenses are available in PL or LPL. We recently introduced a whole new PL and LPL system so that you can basically change, the rental house can easily change the mounts without a whole lot of trouble. And of course, they're also available in our standard coatings, and our SF version, which have where it's easier to get the blue streaking that people like.
I was going to ask you about the special flare lenses because I'm a fan. I really do like
it. Just something for your audience, which I hope is hundreds of thousands. I called the anamorphic look funky. And so originally, the SF actually stood for super funky, but one of our customers said, "Oh, if you call it super funky and it's on a producer's list, they'll say, oh, we can't have that." So we changed it to special flare. But in any case, I think the SF version outsells the regulars. I don't know, probably 3-to-1 worldwide. Now, the nice thing is, with even the SF version is not all flare all the time. If you liked to get the flare, you get the flare. If you avoid direct lights into the lens, or glancing across the front element, you don't get the flare. So it really is, to me, the SF is the best of both worlds.
Yeah, that's what I found when I used them, was that they didn't flare all of the time. It was only when there were some sharp point light sources that they would really do that sort of J.J. Abrams look. So most of the time you were okay.
How did you like the 1.8 squeeze?
Oh, just amazing. It gives you that nice wide angle, big field of view without being too much. 2 times sometimes is almost a bit too much. And it was just a lovely balance where nothing was excessive, everything was well balanced, and it was just a pleasure to use them. My only criticism, and I know you can't avoid it, is that they're quite heavy. But that's, you've got a big lump of glass in there.
That's really an issue. That's really an issue with any true front anamorphic lens. If you follow the light beam, especially on the wide angles, but all of them. A lot of manufacturers have taken the easy way and they do a rear anamorph. Now, the rear anamorph is really easy to do. The cylinders are small, they're lightweight. We're talking about stuff, maybe that big. But if you want the true anamorphic funkiness, as I call it, you can't do that behind the iris. You have to do that in front of the iris. So in some of our zoom front anamorphic lenses, the cylinders get to be 4 inches in diameter. I mean, this is big chunky glass, but it is the way that you get the anamorphic character. And frankly, if you're shooting anamorphic and you want a nice, clean, quote unquote spherical look, what the hell are you doing shooting anamorphic? You can shoot wide, you can shoot wide, crop, and crop it like we've done in Super 35 for years, and get the widescreen look. There's plenty of resolution. It's easier, it's faster, it's cheaper, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The only reason in my mind to shoot anamorphic is because you want the character of anamorphic.
And exactly, I'm completely with you on that one. It's the whole point, isn't it? Of it's the let's call them imperfections, because they are. It creates this what in many cases you would say is a problem with the lens, but those problems, those issues, the way the image is distorted is what makes it special, is what gives it that unique characteristic that you can't get any other way.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on in a real anamorphic that plays up those imperfections. There's a lot going on. You have a vertical depth of field, a horizontal depth of field. It is, it's what makes it interesting. And you have the field curvature both, in the vertical and the horizontal, and it's just what adds interest. I mean, nobody's sitting in the audience saying, "Hey, that's anamorphic," but they're sitting there thinking, this is visually a little more interesting than I'm used to seeing. And then it's great. Anyway, we've been very gratified that the lenses have been received so well around the world.
Yeah. But what about spherical, though? Because there's still an awful lot of people shooting with spherical lenses. So what's new in the S7?
Yeah, and for once, I think we introduced the S7s before we even had the cameras. So that was... I don't know if that was smart or not, but we have a lot of S7s, and we continue to expand that series. They start at 16. They started at 16, and they go out. Currently, we've just introduced a 180 in that, and a 300. So basically, it's like all the focal, like 16, 18, 21, 25, 27, so forth and so on. A typical Cooke focal length, all the way out to 300. So
yeah, we had the 16 on a Venice recently, and really impressed by how little distortion there is in that image. It's really nice.
Great, I'm glad to hear that. And of course, the S7s are also available in TL or LPL, and again, it's easy with our new mount system. It's easily changed between the two mounts. And also, all of our lenses, of course, have our patented eye technology that we have shared with the industry for metadata through, that people use. Well, just about everybody uses eye technology now. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm really impressed by the way you've shared that and made it very open so that anybody can adopt it. So what else are you doing with eye that's new?
Well, let me stay on sevens for just a moment, and then we'll go to that. We have introduced, or we just announced, or we were planning to announce at IBC, a new branch of the S7 family, which are going to be one-to-one macros. There'll be a 60, a 90, and a 150 T25 one-to-one macro. So for that really close work, there will now be a true set of Cooke macros, And I should caution, I shouldn't caution, I should just mention that all of our lenses, from S4 to mini S4 to Pancro Classics to the Anamorphics, the Super 35 and the full frame Anamorphics and the S7 and the 5 eyes, and now these macros are all designed from the ground up. They're not rehoused still lenses. We didn't take a Nikon, macro and stick it in a Cooke body. These are all designed at Cooke by some of the members of the team have changed, but same people that did the 4s and the 5s and the Anamorphs did the macros. And so they're, you mentioned a bit about the weight, and, we are looking at, we do have some stuff maybe in the future that will be a bit smaller and lighter, but the way the industry uses gear, it really needs to be built like a brick shit house. Nobody means to mishandle the gear, but come on a movie set, it's just a lot going on, and things get manhandled and bumped and thrown around. So we really try to build stuff that will last. And what's really gratifying to me is people are still making movies with lenses that we made not only 20 or 30 or 40 years ago, but 70 years ago, 80 years ago.
Wow.
And that's,
That says a lot.
What other thing in your arsenal are you going to be using in 75 years from now? And it's probably next to nothing. But people will probably still be using glass that we're making today. So that's pretty gratifying. So
not good for business, though.
I'm sorry?
Not good for business, though, because they're not replacing them.
Yeah, I do get a little ticked off at at almost all the other manufacturers, the cameras, the you name it. They all sort of, what's the life of a video camera or an HD or what is the life? 2, 3, 4 years, throw it away?
Yeah, 4 years if you're very lucky.
I sort of wish, I sort of wish that were true. I'm really gratified that our lenses last forever, and I'm really sort of ticked off that our lenses last forever.
The 70-year-old lenses, though, they won't have your eye technology in them unless I'm
No,
greatly mistaken.
What a great segue. Very, very smooth. They will not. And we continue to work on eye. This year we've added I3, which is our distortion and shading characteristics, and we've done it in a really unique way. Instead of trying to give the answer out of the lens, which some of one or two of our competitors do, we use the information as a series of coefficients that are static. So as long as you know the serial number of the lens and the focus distance and the iris, which are pretty basic information, you can go up on the web in our cloud server, and pull down the distortion characteristics of your lens. So in post, it's really simple to do the work. And the beauty of this is, as we all know, metadata is one of those things that sometimes gets transmitted, sometimes doesn't. It's still people are trying to figure out what to do with it. And the fact that you only need iris and focus to get your distortion, because you can get the coefficients, which are static, and the lens doesn't have to do all this work, is really, I think, great. And it also means the amount of data you have to carry down from frame to frame to frame to frame is at a minimum. The more data that you're forced to carry and hopefully get to post, the more chances it doesn't make it. So we try to keep it really simple and do as much up in the cloud as we can, and just all you need is the serial number of the lens, and boom, you can plug in the iris and focus, and you're good to go. So we're quite cool about that. And then we have eye technology partners. Actually, one of our oldest eye technology partners, Larry Barton at Cinematography Electronics, has recently introduced a addition or an updated edition to his Cinetape system, which is a very clever graphic display of the focus being measured by the Cinetape, along with the focus and the depth of field reported by the lens through the eye technology. And it's very graphic, so the assistant can just glance at this box and see, in a split second, if it's a close call, is the actor comfortably within the depth of field, or is he on the edge of the depth of field, or is he out in Singapore somewhere? So that's quite. We're really pleased that everybody can understand that the metadata has use in post, but it's also can be very useful on the set and save a lot of time.
So that's an awful lot to take in a few short minutes, and I could probably spend the whole evening talking to you about this because it's quite fascinating. But we're kind of running out of time. But we are unfortunately running out of time. So where can people find more information about your wonderful product?
Well, let me mention the three places. I'm going to give shameless plugs to our websites. We about a year ago, we started a new website called shotoncooke.com. Obviously, it's for people that have shot with Cooke, and it's curated, so we won't take anything. But if you've got a sequence or a commercial or a music video that you think is really worthy, it can be submitted. And if you haven't seen the site, please go check it out, because you can sort it by genre, you can sort it by what lens series. So if you want to show a director car commercial shot with the anamorphic lenses that you used, you can go up there, find somebody that's already done that, and you can give them a really clear sort of a previs type of look at what they may get. And then our longer established website, which has been up for a couple of years now, which is Cooke Optics TV, which is not a Cooke commercial. And if your listeners are not familiar with it, I really urge them to check it out. This is where we interviewed cinematographers from around the world, whether or not they use Cooke lenses as in material, but they just have done something really cool, and or they have a great story to tell about how they do car chases, how they do kinds of shots, how they lit something, how they interact with their directors. So there's a lot of information up there from DPs from around the world, and I would urge people to check it out. It's a very educational site, even for people that are been shooting for a while. We get a lot of great comments back. And then, of course, there's our regular website, which is just cookeoptics.com. And that's COOKEOPTICS.com. And, we encourage people to check it out and then contact us if they have any questions or need anything from us.
That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for your time, Les. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. For more information about other products from other vendors, do have a look at KITPLUS.com. Thank you for watching.